Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's time again for To the Outer Limits, although with a bit of a twist because we're in between seasons, and we're going to talk tonight about a very interesting Joseph Stefano project. If you watched the Outer Limits thing that we did on Sunday, we recorded it on Sunday, and we put it out there a couple days ago. We talk a bit about that. It is the ghost of Sierra de Cobre. So good to see Gabe. Good to see Ian. And this is going to be fun because this is a very cool Stefano project.
Yeah, it's a weird little project. First of all, I'm going to apologize to the viewing audience that I'm not wearing a suit. Okay, I'm not wearing the jacket. I know I'm letting everybody down, but we'll continue anyway.
You still have the tie on, so
I know, but it was hot.
We let you in.
It's too hot for the jacket.
No problem.
This is another failed pilot that then became kind of a TV movie. There's a 20-minute longer version that's a TV movie. That's technically the ghost of Sierra de Cobre. Cobre. Jesus, for some reason this cannot get into my head. But and then the TV version is The Haunted. Although that would have been the title of the series, not necessarily the title of this episode. Supposedly, titles for the episode were initially Black Adventure, which I'm not so sure about that, and then The Black Telephone. But I could see The Black Telephone. That sounds like Anthology Series 101, and this episode really features a telephone, and it's a telephone to the grave.
Indeed, yes, and Shades of Twilight Zone with Long Distance Call, the infamous episode that had Grandma wired for
Right.
She still had Wi-Fi back, even though she was dead.
Although I think that the horror elements of this get a little crazier than anything you see on the Twilight.
Oh, absolutely, and truly, again, for using the scaled effects of the day, incredibly effective. And I mean, literally things that I'm sure you both would agree were still being used, in the aughts recently in Paranormal Activity movies and things like that in terms of, the paranormal disturbance and how it would physically manifest.
Yeah. I mean, and I think pretty effectively for the most part in this, we should probably sum up in some way to say that this was a pilot, unlike actually, while I was saying an anthology type title, unlike The Outer Limits, unlike The Twilight Zone, and unlike the previous pilot that we talked about that became Forms of Things Unknown for the Outer Limits, this was going to be a continuing, episodic but continuing thing with Martin Landau as the main character.
Absolutely.
Nelson Orion.
Great name.
Awesome name. I love it.
Why wasn't the show picked up just because of the name?
I know.
You should have called the show Nelson Orion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And it's like a paranormal procedural.
Yeah.
In its own way,
So Martin Landau plays an architect / art collector who's also a paranormal investigator. And the paranormal investigating just gets in the way of his real job and the shit that he should be doing downtown. Getting things approved, going through the normal circles, but what he's doing is off investigating ghosts that he may or may not believe in.
But it ties into his paranormal interest, ties into his job because he does these restorations of these old houses and things happen, and he happens to be there. And obviously, the pivotal one is at whatever we call it. Yes, indeed.
Sierra de Cobre. Yeah.
I'm going to do that every time. So
I think that's absolutely fair. You're helping me out as well.
How about his cat? Jesus Christ, that's fantastic.
Oh yeah,
Captain Swank. My God.
It's I mean, it's a matte painting, obviously. That doesn't exist in Malibu, but it's an awesome matte painting, and isn't it kind of neat though, just texturally to have him be about restoring these old houses and stuff, but live in this ultra modern thing.
That's a very good point.
Very Edgar Ulmer's The Black Cat type of haunted versus modern sort of stuff.
That being said.
Go ahead.
As someone who lives in who grew up in the LA area, as scary as any ghost could be, the idea that he, got the rights to build a house on a Malibu cliffside without any other houses, that was probably the scariest thing he had to go through. Like, just to get the land rights, because he has no neighbors. And so, like, to get the rights to build a house there, especially like a house like that, no wonder he sees ghosts. That's nothing compared to the muckety mucks, who have to approve your house.
Not to mention this kind of cantilevered structure hanging out over a crumbling, cliffside. Look, that isn't even a huge cliff. They're like a tsunami, you're fucked.
Absolutely. I love it though. And honestly, good Lord, seriously, in my dreams, I've got like a grand hall like this.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me? With the posters and everything. Imagine how many posters I could get on that wall.
Honestly, what's awesome, and especially that he is an architect and he has all these oil paintings of, I'm assuming, places he's been through, and clearly, in the case of the Mission and everything, my father owned a restaurant, an Italian restaurant, and the art, I don't know if it was thrown in or whatever, but he had this oil painting of his place, and they built it from the ground up. And it really was this point of pride of my father's. Mm-hmm. And it almost it wasn't even, to call it a Neiman-esque thing even doesn't do it justice. It really is more like these paintings. Yeah. And literally had the light above it and stuff. So I just adored that. What an amazing place.
Absolutely. Yeah. I assume that's a set, I mean, I know it's a set. There's a big, backing out the door. But it's like, actually, I love the atmosphere of this. And I mean, the only thing that art direction wise lets it down a bit is the crypt, which feels like a little bit just this side of, AIP, Roger Corman type stuff.
But it does allow Conrad Hall to do some great work within that crypt. I mean, one of the things we're talking about in this episode is it's not just Stefano and it's not just Martin Landau. It's a lot of the classic Outer Limits crew, Dominic Fontieri doing the music, Conrad Hall and Billy Frakes.
Yep.
Fraker. Cinematography. Yes. Is Robert Justman on this?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I think they shot this a year later, so it was.
This was 1965, even though IMDb said it's 64. But on the,
I think it was still 64 when they shot it. It wouldn't have come out until 65. Apparently it was I think it was CBS that commissioned it, if I'm not mistaken.
Because he was dealing with ABC, and you can hear about that with our interview with Dominic Stefano.
Right, absolutely. So I believe it was Hunt Stromberg at CBS who had who was very enthusiastic about this, even after it was done. And they had planned to go forward with it, and he seemed to have written other scripts. I mean, I think there was one mentioned called Child Prodigy, and there were other scripts that that were ready to go, but it seemed to kind of drag on. And then when it came down to it, the CBS people got kind of cold feet about the idea of this, too artsy, slightly too sophisticated pilot, and so I think they just got cold feet about it. And go ahead, Ian.
There was also a changeover of executives, and when that happened, the new executives don't want to approve anything the old executives did, because then they don't get credit for it. Yep. The only show of that 1965 CBS season for the shows that would debut in the fall of 1965 that survived that process was The Wild Wild West. And I heard it's because they knew they were going to make a movie some 30 years later. And
Yes.
they had some storyboard artists for it.
Yes, and they knew I was going to work on it. They knew that there would be this amazing sort of synergy between this podcast and my career, and the final the final nail in the coffin of Joseph Stefano's directing career. He directed this one, and I think did a pretty good. What's that?
His only directing credit.
His only directing credit. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's fair. I mean, like he did. Yeah. I think he did a decent job on this. I think he did a good job on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a little stiffer than the than the Outer Limits stuff, but it's the first thing he ever directed.
Yeah.
Well, and again, all the terror effects, I think, were great.
Very well done. Very well done.
I don't have a still of it, but even in the house, the winding staircase. Shot of Dame Judith Anderson as she's walking. I mean, so there's a lot of ambition as far as called shots and everything.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, yeah, a little stiff acting, but I think balanced with a lot of great terror and a lot of great interesting angles.
And also, I think that we're not 100% sure that that what we're, or at least especially in the feature version. We're not 100% sure that this was an absolutely finished thing, right? Like, we don't know that that all of the sound work and all of everything was absolutely finished and sweetened and perfect. It may have gone through other levels of that if it were broadcast. So
okay, well, again, I saw the TV version, and I pointed viewers to what's on YouTube, and that's the TV version. And stuff.
I watched both of them. I mean, Ian probably did too.
Was the pacing better in TV rather than film?
Most definitely.
Okay, because I thought it ran at a good clip. And
it worked really well. Yeah, I watched the feature version first, and then the TV version second. I think the TV version works a lot better. But and the feature version does feel padded. I mean, I know that it wasn't like, I mean, there's new material in it, but there's a lot of using everything you shot as well. It's a little bit Snyder cut-ish, but, just not 4 hours long. I mean, I think that, so the reason that Stefano ended up directing is they had hired director Robert Stevens, who is like a Twilight Zone, veteran. Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Episode.
Yeah.
He
directed Walking Distance, which is one of the best episodes.
Absolutely,
most memorable episodes.
Yeah, but he apparently, like, the thing that I heard was that that I read was like. Around town, they're talking about Robert Stevens and his issues, but apparently his psychiatrist died or something like that, and so he couldn't bring himself to do this job, which seems kind of crazy, but okay.
I just want to say something. So I always go to IMDb after watching these to see what else everybody's done to get some research. Whoever updated Robert Stevens's IMDb, I hope you're listening, or because you list the cause of death as heart attack during a home invasion. You can just say heart attack.
What?
You can just say heart attack. You don't have to bring in the home invasion part.
Well, okay, now that you've brought this up, I'm assuming you did your journalistic due diligence and figured out exactly what happened to him.
He had a heart attack during the home invasion.
You're gonna do it now. Like, we're just gonna wait for Ian to look it all up. Okay, well we'll assume that it was just a heart attack
in Connecticut. So I guess he retired from Hollywood, and then in 1989. I mean,
well, that is a lousy way. Assuming IMDb is right, that's a lousy way to die. I mean, that's just no damn good. So anyway, when he quit, Stefano stepped in, and did an admirable job. Certainly, the crew that he had was amazing, and
I have the information now about Robert Stevens, according to Wikipedia. In 1989, shortly before his death, Stevens was robbed and beaten in his rented Westport, Connecticut home, where he had retired to in 1987. He died shortly thereafter of cardiac arrest in Westport. He was 68 years old.
Oh, what a bummer.
And just to make things weirder, it's hard to Google the death of Robert Stevens because Robert Stevens is also the name of one of the journalists who were killed in the 2001 anthrax attacks. If you remember those.
Oh, right.
So it's a little hard to do some research because
he did among his TV directing, he did an episode of my new favorite, almost Stony Burke-like show, and that's Cornet Blue, which was
Larry Cohen.
Cool by secret agent show that I really, I really was curious about, and it did not disappoint. It was very cool.
So apparently, Henry Mandor, the blind husband, who's Landau's investigating this potential apparent haunting of this guy by his mother from the crypt. Yes. And but initially it was John Drew Barrymore who was cast in that part. And and that it seems to be a little bit of an open question why. I mean, according to the Outer Limits book, he shot some stuff. He actually, he's apparently like the back of his head is in a couple shots of in the episode, but I guess that the network didn't like him or whatever, but he got fired and he got replaced. So,
weird.
It's odd, but there you go.
Well, and also in a very over the top but fun role, Diane Baker. I love Diane Baker. Seriously, I'm such a fan of, especially her stuff in the '60s. But she might still be working. Actually,
she's in Silence of the Lambs. She's the senator whose daughter is the one who's kidnapped by Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, right. 2013 is her last film credit. The Surrogate movie. She was in Hemingway and Gellhorn, the HBO movie with Clive Owen and Nicole Kidman.
Okay, I never saw that.
Hot.
But speaking of Larry Cohen, she's in the first episode of The Invaders.
Oh,
well, yes, and the last two episodes of The Fugitive. She's the love interest that.
Oh yeah, right.
David Benson, been following this guy for 5 years, for Christ's sake.
I'd love to go back and watch The Fugitive. I really loved those last couple episodes, but supposedly it's not really available in the real version. There's like music rights issues or some bullshit like that.
Wow.
So like whatever's out there, I mean, probably whatever would be on TV would be the right one.
Because MTV played the shit out of it for years.
Right. So probably the broadcast version is probably the right version, but the home video version would be the one with the fucked up music.
Yeah, with all the shit. Yeah. Absolutely.
But, I'd love to rewatch that. I ended up watching it because of Twin Peaks. There were multiple Fugitive references in the first season of Twin Peaks, and so I got a little obsessed with The Fugitive as well.
Oh my god! Come on, real William Conrad narration. I love The Fugitive. Anyway, sorry.
But yeah, so apparently, like Stefano worked on this script for like a year. Like this is the thing that he focused on after The Outer Limits, and it went through a million revisions, and until we got to this. So what do you guys think of Dame Judith Anderson in this one? And her hair, particularly. Is what
absolutely, come on. Prince Valiant called. He wants his due back. Absolutely,
I feel like it's even bolder than Prince Valiant. I'm not sure what it is here. I mean, clearly it's mid 60s, but I can't tell if that's supposed to be like. It does seem that she and Diane Baker are maybe playing some sort of ethnic characters.
They're meant to be from Mexico.
Yes,
the Cobre. They're from the town. Absolutely,
right. Which is, maybe. I mean, I guess you're just accepting that because it's the time period. But I mean, she's not the first actor I would think of to play a Mexican character.
Kind of like Chuck Heston in Dr. Evil. Absolutely. Yes. Well, by the way, Star Trek connection. Dame Judith Anderson.
Star Trek 3
puts Spock's mind back together again. Absolutely. And by the way, also looking at the credits because I was looking for Bob Justman, couldn't find him, but I did find makeup man Fred Phillips.
Yes,
who
Fred
was
Phillips back as well. Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't know whether he would have been responsible for it or not, but yeah, the effect of the actual ghost, I think, is actually really cool. And it's basically, I mean, I think it's basically the same thing as in the Galaxy Being. It's somebody painted black with white spots on them, and then a negative printed. And they're probably wearing a white robe or something.
Yeah, Priscilla Monroe is the actress who had to be painted like that. She plays Lou Grant's wife, you might remember.
Oh.
And yes, it's an incredible visual effect. And so just so people know the history of this show, wasn't picked up as a pilot, was extended as a movie, but the TV movie did not air in America. It aired in Britain, it aired in Japan, it aired in Australia, it aired in Canada, lots of different places where CBS just sold the foreign rights for a quick buck. And
common practice.
If you look at IMDb, there's all these comments where people said, like, I saw this thing when I was young and when I was growing up in Australia or in Japan, and the thing that stuck with me was that ghost thing. And it's funny, people now might, probably have no idea, but things would come on the air and TV, and you would see some crazy thing, and it would never be shown on TV again, and you're just like, what was that? And then when the internet finally comes around, you're typing it as like, Ghost Martin Landau show. I mean, who knows? And it's like, it's just this ephemera, but it has such a powerful image and such powerful sound design as well, that it stuck with people for 40 years now.
This is the kind of thing that I think I wonder if Bava was inspired by, if he saw it and was inspired by this. I don't know.
I mean, they're kind of happening at the same time. Bava, most of the kind of like Black Sunday and Black Sabbath, and those movies are like a couple years before this. So I mean, I think it's kind of the aesthetic of the time, or maybe 64 even might be the same year. I can't remember.
Is there a 70s guy that I'm
Dario Argento?
Yeah, Argento.
Yeah.
Right. And I wondered if that's who I was really thinking of, was Argento. Sure. Yes. So I wonder, because that's obviously later, a little later.
Yeah, but this thing it probably did run in Italy though, so that makes sense.
Really, man. I mean, like,
it does have a giallo, dreamy feel to it. The whole show.
Absolutely, yeah.
Two-part Man from Uncle's would run his movies overseas, and Mark Miller and I were talking about the '70s Spider-Man CBS TV show. And he said in Scotland, he's like, they strung together a couple episodes, and we thought it was a movie.
Right. So it's just the worst production values you could imagine for a movie.
Right.
So the reason that it was so hard to see, though, was because there were literally no one could find a print of it. Like they basically just, the Stefano had a print that he was never returned to him. The international prints, who knows where they ended up. And for years and years, people thought it was just completely lost. But it was also down to like what people were searching for as far as the title was concerned. Like if it may have been just, I think it was filed under, the Ghost of Sierra de Cobre, and if you did a search for the haunted, it wouldn't come up. But ultimately, they found a copy in the UCLA Film and Television Archive, and then had like a screening of it, which I don't know how I didn't go to, but at the Billy Wilder Theater over at UCLA, which is a great place to see movies, and
was Dominic there? Do you know?
Yeah. I mean, I read a thing about it, and Dominic was there, and his mother was there, I believe.
Cool.
So yeah.
That was amazing.
Would have loved to see that.
Can we talk about the supporting actors who I thought were just amazing in this? First of all, Leonard Stone, who I love in everything he does.
Yes, yeah, he's great. He's got such a great face. He's one of those guys that you're always like, that guy.
That I literally have under one of his pictures as that guy before I looked it up. And you're right, man. I mean, several Barney Millers, a couple great Bob Newharts. I mean, as much great comedy as just, hey, we need a straight guy for 10 lines or whatever, and great character in this as Mr. Exposition in terms of, I'll tell you, Bob, you're a fine architect and restore. Why do you waste your time on this crazy paranormal stuff? So
it's one of the aspects that makes me sad that it wasn't a picked up, because you would love to have seen him. I guess he's Martin Landau's lawyer, manager.
I think
something.
so. I'm not 100% sure.
But he's basically saying, like, why aren't you meeting with the LA City Council at 8:30 in the morning? First of all, how are those meetings? Like, so Nelson O'Ryan, he's 8:30. They're having breakfast and they're there to talk about building downtown. But first, they gotta get the politeness out of the way. Oh, Nelson, what did you do last night? Oh, I was in a crypt where a woman was buried with her phone, so she could call her blind son. And it's like, okay, now let's talk about building rights. So
right, but they're all used to it, and they're all sick of it from him. He has it every damn week,
More like Nelson O'Reilly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Okay. What is it this time, Nelson? Yeah.
And as Nelson's Watson and housekeeper, Nellie Burris back, who so much
don't open till Tuesday.
Yep.
Don't open till Doomsday, absolutely. And it was great. It was great seeing her again. And honestly, isn't it interesting, especially in this current era, to say finally, here's 3 strong women in this show. Yeah. Honestly, yeah. Like I really liked how she was kind of Nelson's shit detector. Like, all right, give it to me again. Come on.
Yeah. No,
that
was cool.
That's awesome, man. I mean, she was very no nonsense and really cool. I thought it was a great role. And then the conniving of Judith Anderson and the Dame and Diane Baker, pretty neat stuff too.
Yeah. And we didn't say it, but Dame Judith Anderson isn't just the Vulcan lady from Star Trek 3. She was in Rebecca. She's like, she's a powerhouse sort of actor.
Yeah, but
no, I'm just filling it in some.
I love it.
First thing I think of is
the opening of this show is the cliffhanger that's meant to draw you into the show is Dame Judith Anderson appears. It's like,
yes.
So Diane Baker is married to this blind millionaire boy. I mean, he's adult, but his mother recently died, and he is now head of this estate, big house in Los Angeles. And so she comes back. She's been away for a few days, and they meet up. And then none of the usual staff is there. Who shows up? But Dame Judith Anderson, and Diane Baker steps away, very apprehensive, almost screams, except we don't know what's up with Dame Judith Anderson, why she would react to that. But she has a look about her. Maybe you remember Rebecca, winner of the Best Picture of 1940. So it's like you're just like drawn in because, like, hey, what's up with Dame Judith Anderson? That's kind of
It's kind of true. Like it's like, well, we got to cast somebody with some gravitas for this role, since that's what we're going out on in that teaser. I gotta say while the ghost part is awesome, I actually love the bit where they're in the tomb and the door opens and it's just crazy windy and like that, like with that kind of long lens shot on Diane Baker just going there's something weirdly effective about that.
Well, that's what I mean, man. No, those kind of paranormal occurrences with no budget whatsoever. Start the big fan. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, roll in the Ritter.
And also reactions. I mean, Diane Baker was just really perfect in this role. I've never seen her cut loose like this, as far as any sort of role where she's going to scream and be this hysterical.
Yeah, she's usually playing an icier sort of character. Yeah, but okay. The other thing I have to say, ayahuasca.
Early ayahuasca reference.
It is nuts that's in here. It's nuts that this is that there is this hallucinogenic drug element to this supernatural story where ultimately, I'm spoiling stuff in a way here, but ultimately we end up with I think a permanently hallucinating ghost that is haunting, that's haunting these people, which I think is kind of an incredible idea, and one that you would literally never think would be happening, even the kind of psychedelic 60s. This is 1964.
Yeah. Now we should call it by its full name, ayahuasca or yage.
Yes, as they say every single time.
They kill them both names. Usually you just settle on the one name, keep going.
Yeah. No. Look, if there's one thing that we can count on Joe Stefano for, it's taking something and using it again and again for effect.
Yeah.
And
consult your physician before taking ayahuasca. These common side effects are sleeping out of paintings, expecting to kill you. Great British actresses wielding knives, and of course the lady from The Fugitive screaming her ass off. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and people my parents' age thinking that ayahuasca is some sort of brilliant religious thing right now or something like that. I keep hearing about this from elderly people, but
we need this ayahuasca out of our school system right now. And the kids are going nuts on this ayahuasca ever since they saw that Stefano movie.
I was just blown away by that, like being a huge plot element in this. It just seemed so weirdly modern, or at least weirdly not 1964.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, but I think overall the episode's really effective, and it's I so would have. I probably would have liked to see the series that, The Unknown a little bit more. I like anthologies, and but a Martin Landau paranormal investigator thing. He wears presumably will wear a different sweater every week. That
was an awesome 60s sweater. That really was.
That in the opening, I feel like I remember. Which I've mentioned too many times about early when I moved to LA and seeing Martin Landau just at the Bookstore in Studio City, and thinking, my God, he's a schleppy walker. Like the way he walks he is this like schleppy sort of duck walk thing, right? And it's on full display.
Yeah.
Even many years earlier, it's on full display in the opening of this where he's walking up the beach. But it's part of his charm.
I understand. He had that awesome turkey neck at the end that he could shoplift in. If you like, it was like full pelican.
Yes.
Full pelican. Did you look at when you saw him?
Okay.
Oh
yeah. This was the mid '90s, I guess. And,
okay.
He was, and I think he had a much younger wife with him.
Awesome. Hey, one of the greatest rebound careers from literally 1 year doing the Harlem Globetrotters at Gilligan's Island to Ed Wood. So and the wonderful third act of his career.
Absolutely. And
until the day he died. Yeah, he was amazing. Right. He had an ABC San Francisco-based procedural show where he was the medical examiner, and it was so good. And it literally only lasted like a summer and then wasn't picked up. But I was just riveted seeing him every week doing this role.
No, I didn't know that. But you know what? He was a great actor. Like he was really one of those people who to some degree relegated to television stuff, but when he had the opportunity, like with the Coppola movie Tucker, and I believe he got an Oscar nomination for that.
Love that movie. Yes, he did.
And
North by Northwest, of course, early in his career.
Sure.
But even at the end, like you said, Tucker, I love him in that Robert Wool movie, a little independent movie Robert Wool made called Mistress.
Yes,
where he's like kind of the kind of cheeseball producer.
Yeah, and that's another one of those movies about movies where the thing that I haven't seen that in ages, but the thing that really stuck with me is trying to run down Ernest Borgnine in the parking lot of the Ralphs or something to get a stick to him. Yeah.
I got to interview Robert Wool about a bunch of things, but I'm like, we got to carve out time for Mistress. She's like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, I'm very proud of that. And I'm like, okay.
All right. But yeah, I should track that down. I feel like there's a couple of things like that, and the big picture. I think maybe it's called.
Yes, with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. I haven't seen those since
That's a great
not
that's
since
a
they
movie.
came out, but since they were on video, on VHS.
Fun movie.
Yeah.
And big picture, we mentioned it earlier, that probably what, one of the things that hurt this thing becoming a television show, the change of regimes. That's what happened to Big Picture. It was made and put on the shelf and then found its audience in video and cable.
But and actually, when in that Paley Center video that's on the second season Outer Limits disc, where they're talking about the Outer Limits, Martin Landau more than once brings up this the haunted, like, cool. There's this thing you've never seen, like because that was from the early 2000s, so I think it was before they rediscovered it. So like basically, we did we did the those Outer Limits episodes and stuff, but there's this other thing that that you guys are never going to see and never got to see, and so I'm glad that we finally did.
100%, man. No, it's I really think it rivals some of his best work, and absolutely this shouldn't have been the only thing he ever directed, and we should have gotten more films from him in this period, because clearly, from a creative standpoint, he was still firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's just so often you look at somebody's career, and we spent quite a lot of time talking about this on Sunday with his son Dominic Stefano, and but things just don't roll the right way in certain, and clearly, I mean, for me anyway, looking back at this stuff, these are like this and the Unknown pilot are two like really impressive pilots that. Feel like how the hell did, like, even if they're kind of nuts, it just feels like these are such high quality. This should have gone someplace,
Yeah.
But what can you do? I mean, like it's frustrating. I'm sure it was much more frustrating for him than us that that things didn't work out.
Yeah. There we go.
All right.
Going back, well, I want to talk about what I found one of the most amazing things about this story, and this goes back to the ayahuasca thing, is whenever you have a show about a paranormal investigator, you can go one or two ways, whether they're debunking a prank, a hoax, or whether there's actually something supernatural. This show kind of has its cake and eats it too, because the black telephone, the gaslighting the blind socialite, that's a prank. But then there's an actual ghost from an earlier case of Nelson Orion's, the titular ghost of Sierra de Cobre, who is haunting the people who are doing this hoax.
Yeah,
and so we get to have, if you're a skeptic, you got something. If you're a believer, this is a show for the Mulders and the Scullys.
And if you're just a fan of incredibly ambitious storytelling, because like pulling off the idea of setting up a haunting, revealing it to be a hoax, but also being an actual haunting, but the way that it works out in an unexpected way that's deeply embedded in the past of all these characters. Really ambitious, really great writing, Matt, I think.
Yeah, quite agree. And again, everybody, the acting was great. Conrad Holland is best, and Stefano at his best. The whole crew. No, it was a pleasure to watch amidst so much shit that is streaming right now and the like and everything. It's like. Thank you. Whoever posted it on YouTube, thank you. I'm gonna. And
I also have to say that there's an awesome Kino Lorber Blu-ray of this,
of course,
that has where particularly for the feature version of it, the transfer is beautiful, and it looks. I mean, you can really appreciate the Conrad Hall of it all, and particularly like in the pilot version, when there's a scene where the brakes go out on a car, and and it's I think it's day for night stuff, and it's printed really dark, and you could barely see what's going on. In the in the transfer for the feature version, you totally can see it, and it's it's all a lot more like crisp and detailed and good looking. So I don't think you're getting the real deal quality of the photography unless you're seeing that Blu-ray.
All right.
Worth buying. Is all I'm saying. Like the TV version is awesome. I think I'm just endorsing the idea that you should it's worth picking up that Blu-ray too.
I'm hip. No, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, thank you, Scissorman 1985, for putting it up regardless on YouTube. I won't deny that. No, Keener Lober is a great company. They do amazing features and documentaries. So,
Yeah. Cool. So I guess we're done. Yeah.
yeah, the only other thing I was going to say was give the guys, because they came on Sunday, Dave Rash and Dominic Stefano. If you didn't see it, please do, because it really was worth it, and it really gives great context to not only the series but certainly Mr. Stefano. And also, they have this book that you can get at gauntletpress.com, and it's a collection of, it's volume 1 of what Dominic and Dave want to do, and that is publish Stefano's scripts and revisions as well of Outer Limits things, and it's great. I mean, we really went into a big discussion about shape of things unknown, and am I saying that right?
Forms of things unknown. But yeah, but it was a great conversation. I thought it was a like pretty amazing interview, and so I absolutely, you should check that out if you're interested in this stuff at all. You should check that out.
100%.
And I've pre-ordered the book, so you got to as well.
Absolutely.
Joseph Stefano is such Joseph Stefano is such a underrated talent. I mean, obviously, we talk about Psycho, we talk about how great Hitchcock is. I love Hitchcock. I love Anthony Perkins. But Stefano, I feel like, is the third part of that triangle, which is why the cinematic Norman Bates has, survived and has become so iconic. And he's not, Stefano is not heralded the way Rod Serling and Gene Roddenberry is, because, and that's for lots of reasons. He didn't work as much. Also, he wasn't hitting the convention scene. He wasn't like in the genre kind of trade where you wouldn't find him at Comic-Con, let's say. Maybe not, but for what comic conventions were in the 70s and 80s. And so anything that helps bolster his creative contributions, let's have more of it. I hope there's a volume 2 and volume 3 and 4 of these script books, and I hope The Haunted is one of those scripts, because I'd love to read the script with us.
Me too. Absolutely. I'd love that too.
Yeah. And mentioning Roddenberry, I had forgotten that I wanted to point out in the 70s, there's almost it's different because it's a paranormal investigator that's looking at a demon cult. But this Roddenberry backdoor pilot, well, it wasn't a backdoor because it wasn't attached to any series, but a pilot that became a movie. It was called Spectre. And Robert Culp is the paranormal investigator. Gig Young plays the housekeeper role, is more of a traditional Dr. Watson in this thing. Roddy McDowall is involved in the Satan cult. It's from the early 70s. And I guess from a paranormal investigator standpoint, I found a kinship between these movies. And I would recommend it. Again, I know it's on YouTube. I don't believe it is. I don't know if Warner Archives maybe managed to put it out, but it's definitely a movie that wasn't on DVD for a long time, if it isn't even now. But it's one that would run like on cable and streaming and stuff like that. And I do know I've seen it on YouTube.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that yet. I really have to make the effort, because that sounds like something fun.
It's good. I mean, it's as good as like Quester tapes, or like certainly better than
Pretty Maids All in a Row.
Planet Earth, the John Saxon.
Pretty Maids All in a Row is it?
Pretty Maids All in a Row. Yeah, you're right. That is really
level.
Wow.
All right. Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, I guess next week we're going to do one other bonus episode about Leslie Stevens this time, and his opus Incubus from 1966, not to be confused with like all the other movies called Incubus. This is the one with William Shatner in it. It's in black and white, and it's in Esperanto.
Yes, the great international language that was going to change the world.
Yeah,
much like the metric system.
Yeah, but also a movie that was thought to be lost for quite a while, and then showed up in the 2000s. And so we'll take a look at that, and I believe that's available on YouTube to see, hopefully. Also, I'm not sure how available it is for everybody to check out, but I'd also like to at least spend a little bit of time talking about Leslie Stevens' feature that he made before The Outer Limits called Private Property, that's gotten a really great release I can't remember who from, but but there's a great Blu-ray out there. It's a really interesting movie. It's not a supernatural sci-fi type genre thing, but it is a kind of a sort of noirish early 60s somewhat French New Wave influenced movie with Warren Oates and Corey Allen, and it's a really interesting, cool movie. I believe it's on Fandor, and I think it's on Canopy. I think that's the one that you get through the library. But if I could be wrong. But so if you have access to those, it's on there. I highly recommend checking that out because it's a super interesting movie. I just rewatched it like a couple days ago.
I've looked up the DVD and it looks pretty cool. But yeah, I will see where it is streaming while we're talking. Go on.
Yeah. So I don't believe it's streaming any place other than those places unless it showed up. I mean, when I searched it, but like if you can find it, watch it. It's really cool, and I wanted to at least spend a little bit. I mean, I've seen it anyway. I just spent a little bit of time acknowledging it. So we'll.
Yeah, you're right. Fandor.
Yeah. So we'll do that next week, and then after that, we'll get to season 2.
Sounds good. Absolutely. Yeah. Any final thought, Ian?
No, it's just, I'm glad we're doing our part to bolster, the amazing work of Joseph Stefano and, amazing work of Conrad Hall. And I'm just like, I want to tell people, like, if I had to sell the haunted ghost of, aka the ghost of Sierra de Cobre, I would tell people, like, what if American television in the 1960s accidentally invented giallo? It's like, that's how I would sell it to people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the suits clamped down on it because of that. Not really, but that's, to sell it, that's how you sell it to folks.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm available for your marketing department.
And very sadly, though, this is the last we're going to talk about Joseph Stefano because he's not involved in the second season of The Outer
Very true.
I mean, I think we'll be talking about him as a point of comparison.
Yes, this is the last time we will be talking directly about something he contributed to. So, yes.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
All right, cool. Well, I think we're done. So,
all right, fair enough. There we go. We'll talk to you all next week when we explore Esperanto, Leslie Stevens, and Incubus. That'll be next week on To the Outer Limits. Thanks a lot for watching. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.